Hello everyone. I wanted to talk today a little bit about rate cards. Now, rate cards are more about financial management versus typical accounting. And so in actual fact, whether you've got a financial background or not, you can develop an effective rate card. There's just some principles you need to consider while you do that. So I'm going to suggest two questions, which we'll discuss briefly, which you can ask yourself and think about when deciding on what your rate card should be. So the first question to ask is, what does your rate card actually mean to the people using it? Now, I still believe that in our industry, most rate cards are based on perception. The perception of what that audience has, its spending power, its locality, and what the radio station represents and its brand, which is not, to be honest, always effective. But let me also tell you how advertisers see the rate card. So what they want to know is, what is it costing them per lead or per person listening to the ad? Now, of course, as a community radio station, your audience will typically be smaller than, say, a giant SABC ALS station. So economies of scale dictate that they could cost less per person because they've got more people in that sort of giant footprints and audiences that they have. But it doesn't mean that because you can't compete on a cost per thousand, which is a sort of basic comparison, a cost per thousand people, it doesn't mean you can't compete favorably, because if you think about it, some people don't have 200,000 Rand for a campaign. They've got 20,000. And if you look at the science of radio and what we would typically say that you'd need frequency, if you've only got 20,000, where are you going to get frequency for that value? And of course, you're going to then look very strategically and look at geographical location, specific audiences, and that's exactly what community radio stations give you. So your rate card needs to consider the perception people have of the station, the perception they have of your audience, the cost per thousand. You've got to do some comparisons and just check how you compare with other stations that target a similar market and are perhaps found in a similar area. The second thing you should consider when looking at your rate card is, when should I give a discount and when should I give added value, and to how much should I do these things? My personal view is that you should never give a discount or added value unless the client has a long history with the station, or is paying up front, or is committed to a huge campaign that justifies getting a better rate. The problem with discounting is that once you've done it once, you can almost never bring that client back to the original rate card, even when they start spending less or they don't spend in quite some time. So try to have consistency with your discounting, and don't discount too heavily, because it gives this perception of desperation and you can't recover from it. Rate cards, of course, are slightly more complicated and scientific than what we've been able to discuss in just 2 minutes. So if you want to discuss any further, feel free to drop me a line on my email address, which is simon@themediaconnection.co.za. Thank you.